It's going to be a great day because we have got wonderful speakers, legends. We have done so many things, and we have proven all of us that how great entrepreneurs they are, and they have been a true inspiration for all of us, the coming generation, the present generation, and the past generation. Yes, we have two wonderful speakers. One is Dr. NKJ, is known as Captain NKJ, NKJ Nandakumar Jairam sir. Sir, we would like to give a very, very warm welcome on behalf of NNF Karnataka State Chapter, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And we have second speaker, Dr. Ajay Kumar. He himself is a legend, and he has been he doesn't need any introduction. He's the HCG owner, founder, chairman, and managing director, a great entrepreneur, a great visionary, and we are very, very proud that he has joined us today. Ajay sir, on behalf of NNF Karnataka State Chapter, we would like to give a warm welcome to you, sir. And today's session will be moderated by our Vice President, beloved Vice President, founder, chairman, and a Harvard graduate, and the winner of so many awards, our own Dr. Kishore Kumar sir, the founder, director of Cloud9 Group of Hospitals. He'll be moderating the session. We would like to extend our welcome to you as well, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we have other moderators as well. Will be joining as a panelist. One is Dr. Sharat Chandra, Dr. Suresh Vishwanathan, Dr. Adarsh, and Dr. Satish Ganta, sir. So who have been consistently sharing their views, sharing their experience in most of the talks. So this platform has been created to give an overall perspective for a doctor, apart from their clinical skills. What are the things which are important to complete our 360 degree as a doctor in terms of being very successful along with the clinical skills. So today's topic, we have two topics which we'll be discussing. One on the what are the permissions which are required, and we always get confused, and every time there are new things which keeps on cropping up from the government side. So today we're going to discuss all those things, and then doctor's perspective of designing an hospital. That will be the another talk, very interesting talk, and our panelist and our speaker are going to shower their experience and share their experience with all of us. So without wasting much of time, I request Nandakumar sir to start the session.
Yeah.
Before that, I request Kishore Kumar sir to speak a few words and Kotreshi sir to speak a few words, and then we'll start the session. What do you, sir?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Kishore Kumar here. It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Nandakumar Jairam. I know he is extremely busy, but with one request, he agreed to share his thoughts. We invited him because he has been a great visionary leader and in so many achievements. He is a Bangalore Medical College graduate, both in post-graduation and undergraduation. Subsequently, in those years, which was very difficult to go abroad, he went abroad to UK and specialized himself in colorectal surgery in St. Mark's Hospital in London. Subsequently, he's worked in Mayo Clinic in the US, and he came back and he was an academician working in St. John's, and he also was the head of the department of St. John's Medical College Hospital Surgery, and he was always very, very keen and practicing quality issues. He was a NABH assessor for quite a number of years. He was NABH chairman from 2006 to 2018. He was a Malya Hospital head of the department from 1994 to 2006. Subsequently, when Columbia Asia hospitals were being started in India, they headhunted him and asked him to head the Columbia Asia hospitals in India. If I can say that Columbia Hospital in India has succeeded only because of Dr. Nandakumar Jairam, it's not an overstatement, it's an understatement. He practiced very qualitative surgery until 2017, when he stopped operating and dedicated purely to administration. He was given FRCS by the Royal College in 2017. He was also awarded Healthcare Professional of the Year in 2017. If I keep telling his achievements, we need the whole day. And despite all these achievements, he is quite humble, honest, and very hardworking. And it will be a great pleasure for us to listen to him with his experience about all the things. And he has contributed immensely to the healthcare of India. and definitely Karnataka in a very, very big way. Columbia Asia today stands paramount to the quality care they are providing in multi-speciality hospitals. Thank you very much, sir, for your consent and agreeing to spend some time with us. Over to you, Dr. Nandakumar Jairam.
Thank you very much, Kishore, for those nice words. I don't deserve all the credit that you've given me, but let me get along with the presentation because I know that Ajay, who follows me, is short of time, so I don't want to delay him. Basically, what I'm supposed to speak to all of you is on the licenses and other permissions that are required for us to run a hospital. On the face of it, this looks like a very simple and straightforward topic, but there are many ifs, buts, bends, and other aspects to this, which I'll try to outline over the next 20 minutes. And I'm happy to be able to be in your midst today and present on this topic. Statutory compliances in healthcare is not an option. One must understand that it is an absolute mandate and it is an indispensable part of today's business. What is important for all of us to understand is that the lack of knowledge is not an excuse for us not to be able to understand what is required, and law will not excuse you if you were to say, I did not know or I was not knowledgeable about this aspect. There is a proverb which says, a spark neglected burns the house. And I think all of us know the experience that was most unfortunate in Calcutta with the Ambri fire accident. 100 people succumbed. Senior management, including the directors, had to face a prison term, and reputationally, the entire Imami group suffered enormously. And of course, the financial loss on account of this incident speaks for itself and explains how important it is to remain ahead and abreast of licenses. What are the good statutory compliances that one has to follow? It is something that will enable you to gain the trust of your employees, of your patients, that it will be a method by which banks and other prospective investors will look at helping you if you are statutorily compliant. On the other hand, if it is not, then, as I said, there could be catastrophic repercussions, as I have just mentioned. There may be reluctance of the investors and lenders, litigation and its expense, compensations and its expense, and prosecution of staff and senior management, which is the most unfortunate situation that you can have. And all this can lead to a collapse of your business. Before we get into statutory compliance, it is worth understanding our constitution, which has a direct bearing on what we have to do. As all of us know, the Union of India is administered by the central government, and laws of the central government are applicable to the whole nation. States, on the other hand, are administered by state governments, and state legislature are applicable only to that state. Why do I say this? I say this because the requirements of the state-led legislatures will obviously be varied and not applicable across the nation. So depending on the state in which you work and practice, the laws may be modified to that extent, and you should be aware of this. And then, of course, you have the union territories. The Constitution also has a well-defined distribution of power between the union and the states. And the schedule to the Constitution lists out the subject matters which the Union of India can and the states can promulgate as law. The union list does not include health. Health, as many of you are aware, is a state subject. However, there is a catch to it, and I will explain that in the next slide. So you will find that whenever there is a matter that states would like to see spread across the nation, two or more states can, through Article 252 of the Constitution, promulgate a law, and then what happens is that law becomes binding on those two states and also other states which may agree to accept this law. Sum and substance, although we are talking about an act which is by and large state moderated, and health is a state moderated subject, there are certain aspects which are centrally dictated, and the examples are shown below. And the Karnataka Private Medical Establishments Act, which many of us have gone through and suffered, is one such. Now, what are the requirements that health establishment have to follow? Let me classify this based upon the type of entity that is in the offing. So it would depend upon whether you have a charitable organization, a registrar of corporates, Reserve Bank of India, societies, etc. So depending upon the type of entity that you wish to start, the related registry would be then appropriately decided upon. Also, the size of the building, because the building, plan sanction, commencement certificate, etc., are based upon various things. For example, if you require an environmental clearance, then your building is usually more than 6 floors high. And if it is a smaller building and not with so many floors, it may not be required. So you will have to understand that, and also depending upon the kind of service that you wish to deliver. Operations related to clinical establishment, MTP, organ transplant, etc., are all part and parcel of the kind of clinical service that will define the licenses you need to obtain. I mean, obviously, if you run a hospital that is based upon obstetrics and gynecology, then you will not need anything to do with a transplant license. And this is something that you will have to keep in mind. And finally, there are tax related, statutory compliances that are important. So you can understand that there are various aspects that determine the kind of license or authorizations that you will require to have. Now, I have already outlined that these are important, and I draw your attention to point number 3, which is on foreign direct investments. If you have a foreign direct investment, then whereas you need not have a license to do so, there are certain RBI regulations and there are certain entries in the RBI that have to be followed. I've already mentioned about the geographic position, and depending on the states, you would have various requirements for licenses. Let me come to the 10 important points that determine what are required in terms of licenses, out of which 4 has been explained. The 5th one is related to employees, and you would require to ensure that you're in keeping with the Shops and Establishment Act, professional tax, etc. Environment related, and these have become especially stringent of late, and one must be very careful in ensuring that you do not look away from any of these, because that would adversely affect you. Any aspect that is radiologically related would require clearance from AERB, and that should also not be forgotten. And most importantly is to remember that every license has a lifespan. And if you overlook this, then the expiry of the license and not having renewed it will have serious consequences. We are lucky in that there are certain licenses which have a lifetime validity, and an example of that is your PAN card. Ranging between 1 to 10 years, there will be a need for us to renew licenses. Now, the list, therefore, and I will show you how we classify these in subsequent slides, is quite easily seen and written down. What is important is the art of procurement. Is it easy to get a license? The answer is no. In our country, it is frustrating, and most importantly, I would say as follows. The first and most important point is to be compliant and not fudge information or data, which always leads to trouble at some point or the other. Number two, it is never a single window, single point, whatever is stated or said, multiple visits, follow-ups, and some person who's appointed for this particular purpose, who is knowledgeable of the local language, who has the ability to speak well and with courtesy to the officer is extremely important. We have gained significantly in this way. All of you know that as a foreign investment company, we cannot indulge in any of the practices that are out of the records. So we can't bribe, to simply state. And that is a huge issue in our country in certain instances. But that has been overcome by the presence of a few people in the organization who are very, very capable of becoming friendly with the officers in a straightforward way, and their repeated visits is what helps us to get these licenses done. And then there are certain people who simply will not, in spite of all that is appropriate, budge in getting a license. In that case, there are professional consultants, and we have engaged such professional consultants who have a better rapport with these people and enable them to grant these licenses to the organization. But obviously, that comes at a cost. So there is always sometimes a tendency to say, it's okay, let us see, let us not really bother about this. When the time comes, we will look into it. Please do not do that. As I would say, the statutory compliance will come back and hit you if you don't have it when it hurts the most. And that is something that I would impress upon every one of you. Now, if we look at starting a hospital, then we can split these into 5 phases of getting certification and the type of certification that is required. Phase 1 actually starts even before commencement of the building, and you can see that there are 6 clearances that are documented, and as I said, some of these are based upon the size of the building, and it is worth understanding that creating this kind of Excel with all the requirements for your particular building would be the first step even before you start planning for your hospital. The second, which comes during or after the construction, is towards various clearances which may be overlapping with phase 1. I draw your attention to fire. Before the building starts, there is a need for a fire NOC, and afterwards, in parallel with phase 1, will be a fire clearance certificate, which is something that is mandated and important in all institutions. I want to draw your attention to the fire license. The fire license has a life. The fire license, in my opinion, is one of the most important And there have been various instances where old buildings do not have a fire license simply because they do not comply with the required norms. This is a dangerous situation, and I would ask you to be very careful of this and ensure that it never deviates from this. Time and again, we've had incidences of fire in our nation with not just damage to property, but death of patients and medical staff, which is a huge issue. The other point that I would like to draw your attention to is discharge of wastewater and the creation of the STP, which is ever so important in our country. Now let us look at phase 2 in continuation. And one of the important aspects is to ensure electrical sanctions. And these are various documents that are there and would also be important both during and after the construction. As we commence our operations, we require a trade license. And there is a very easy way of getting it, but without that, you cannot simply start a hospital. I also draw your attention to the cafe license and the pharmacy license, which can be extremely taxing. And the cafe license particularly, because if you have a cafe within the hospital, that has to have a separate license at all times. Once the building is completed, the biggest issue is getting a clearance and the occupancy certificate. And the occupancy certificate is something that has to happen anywhere and everywhere in the country and would be based upon certain visits, inspections, and clearances. A lot of delay can happen if you don't get the occupancy certificate, because the occupancy certificate and the opening of the hospitals are very close, and failure to get an occupancy certificate will throw a spanner in the works and create a situation where you would have already employed people, invested in equipment, and every month you will have expenses which will pile on if you don't get your occupancy certificate, because without that, hospital cannot start. Therefore, it is important to time the occupancy certificate in such a way that you are ahead of the game and understand that if an occupancy certificate is to come within a month, it will take 3 times that amount of time, and suitably ensuring that you keep that much of time for yourself is extremely important. And that is phase 3 of the certification and regulation requirements. Phase 4 has got a whole lot of licenses with regard to pharmacy, with regard to restricted drugs, with regard to private medical establishments, and finally the spirit license, which is because you are going to stock and store alcohol on the premises for clinical usage. So these can be listed as phase 4, which usually starts after commencement, and many of these issues crop up in hospitals that have started running. I draw your attention to the narcotic drug license. Narcotic drug licenses are not issued until you have started operations, but you will need the narcotic drug from day one. And what is ideally done is that individual doctors can prescribe in their own name, and that is the only way to allow narcotics to be used until the license is procured. And then we have phase 5, which are licenses of taxation, VAT, income tax, and so on. Now, of course, it has come down to GST, and there is a need for us to understand that these certificates will be, many of them would be from the income tax department, and some of them from the Pollution Control Board as well. It is wise to classify these licenses into these phases and decide when you have to start looking at these licenses for your hospital. As I stated, much of the example that I have given is towards the Karnataka hospitals, and there may be variations between Karnataka and, let us say, Uttar Pradesh, because state laws can be slightly different. As we move on, there are other certificates which are HR related, and these should not be forgotten. Firstly, I would say Provident Fund and ESI. These are important for your employees, and following that is important. And what I would say is you can also maintain an Excel sheet to tell you when these are available and when they would be expiring. If you do not maintain a sheet of when they are expiring, then you would find yourself in trouble. Also, please do not overlook certain certificates that are required for running of ambulances, insurance for vehicles, because these are sometimes overlooked once they expire. So like I said, you need to have a tracker. There are two ways in which these trackers can be utilized. One is to have a tracker which is reviewed every 6 months by a specific person in the hospital to ensure that you do not overlook any license that has expired. The second is to use a software tool which automatically throws up a reminder. The latter is much better because all said and done, manual intervention will never be able to be 100% sure, whereas a software generated reminder would be much better for you. My dear friends, the experience of running, starting and suffering through the licensing of 11 hospitals has taught us one thing. Be straightforward in obtaining licenses, be timely in obtaining licenses, understand when they are going to expire, preempt these and sleep in peace. That is all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the audience.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Very, very comprehensive, and you put it simply. I wish it is as simple as that, but you have mentioned all the nitty-gritties involved, which is very helpful. We are running short of time, for Dr. Ajay Kumar, so we'll take his lecture first, and then we'll take the question and answer. So, to introduce Dr. Ajay, have you joined?
Yeah, I'm on there.
Welcome, Dr. Ajay Kumar, and many of you know him as the chairman, CEO of Healthcare Global, which is the cancer chain of hospitals. Ajay Kumar is a local boy like Dr. Nandakumar Jairam. He completed his MBBS from St. John's Medical College, Bangalore, went on to complete his residency training in oncology from University of Virginia Hospital in Charlottesville in USA. He completed his fellowship in radiation and medical oncology from the University of Texas and Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. While he had opportunity to continue on practice in the USA, he decided to return to India to build a cancer care facility and planned several months to start the hospital. And he is a doctorpreneur and the chairman of HCG Global Hospitals. And he has a radiation and medical oncology experience over 40 years. He's a true visionary. He has written his book. I'm sure many of you will find interesting to read his experience. While he continued to build his practice in the US, Ajay Kumar founded a not-for-profit hospital in Mysore called Bharat Hospital. and Institute of Oncology in 1989. And he has created what anybody thought would be unbelievable and unachievable, which is the cancer care hospitals all around the country in the hub and spoke model. So he has experience of how to run the hospitals in a very big way, and he's also got experience of how to run a charitable organization in a big way. And he is a doctorpreneur, philanthropist. And if I keep on telling what all he has achieved as Dr. Nandakumar Jairam, I will need half a day to introduce him. So without much ado, that's a brief introduction I can justify giving him. And with that, we will go to his lecture. And over to you, Ajay.
Thank you very much, Kishore, for those kind words. and once again, thank you for having me. And when you called me, I know we discussed about this program and how I can contribute to the way I look at building up the hospital, my own journey. So if I can have the first slides, I can go through that. Before we start, I just want to say that a journey of an entrepreneur and doctor in understanding the nitty-gritties of starting the hospital. And we all say doing one hospital is enough, but how do we do across multiple hospitals, comprehensive centers? Has always been a challenge. Kishore, can I see the slides?
Prashanth, can you see the slides I've shared?
No, sir. No, sir. I think not started sharing, sir.
Yeah. I believe Girish sent that over. I don't know.
No, I have shared, but I don't know why it's not showing up.
You can close and share one more time, sir. You can stop sharing and then start sharing again.
Or else, can I share? This is Girish here.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Girish?
Yeah, I'm here, sir. I can share it also.
Yeah. Share it. Share it.
Okay. Girish, I will tell you when to move the slides, okay?
Yeah.
So as Kishore said, I thought after all the journey abroad in US and next slide you can go to abroad and then starting my own center.
Can you see the slide now?
Yeah. Can you put it in slideshow mode? Yeah. We can see. We can see.
Opportunity to come, stay at MD Anderson. I thought I should learn the ropes of starting cancer center myself. That is how I practiced outside of Chicago for nearly 20 years. Started the center there, learned the ropes. And one thing I felt very clear, the reason I titled the book Excellence Has No Borders is, doesn't matter whether you are a Indian, American. I immigrated to US in 1975. For me, it didn't matter. And when I saw how people came from 100-mile radius in a 100% white community, how I grew, I thought really, if you're good in your work, it doesn't matter. Everybody will come to you. And similarly, when I looked at cancer patients in India and there, I felt that really cancer deserves the right treatment. Doesn't matter rich or poor. Cancer doesn't know who is rich or poor. All it knows it's cancer. And it deserves the right treatment. If you undertreat because he's poor, the person is going to suffer more. So in the next few slides, I'll show you how that transformation should happen, and we have made it happen, and how it is possible to make it happen. It is not an impossible task. So I always felt challenges are good, but challenges can be achieved if with one single mind that I can do this. So with this, the pursuit, you can go to the next slide, Girish. Here I want to show the learning ropes was after become a doctor, we always want to practice medicine in the best environment possible, do the best thing for the patient, their families, community. But the opportunities may not be there, technology may not be there, infrastructure may not be there. And we always in India, we always concerned about the cost to the patient. Suppose I want to do something right for a 30-year-old female patient with breast cancer who requires certain technology or drugs, and the patient can't afford. Ayushman doesn't pay. Morally, ethically, we know we want to do the right treatment, but the system says no, she cannot afford. How do you bridge the gap? How do you make it happen? These are some of the challenges you face when you are a doctor and an entrepreneur and an administrator, rather than you are just a pure administrator or a doctor. For example, a doctor may not face, because the doctor can prescribe what is the right medicines. They can always say, you know what, they couldn't afford, what could I do? The administrator can say, the doctor prescribed, but the patient doesn't have the ability to pay, what can I do? But when you are both, that is where I feel, as a doctor, you are there in charge. I think you can facilitate. You can make it happen because you are both sides. You are on the both sides of the coin. So this is how, when we started first the Bangalore Institute of Oncology together, I realized, we were in a very small place. And we realized this is not an oncology center. It cannot be. How can it be with very cobalt unit and where we don't have necessary technology? This was in 1988. And I felt that while the world is looking at linear accelerator, high technology, at that time CT scan had come, even MRI was coming, I felt that gap has to be bridged. In fact, in the board meeting, I was still abroad, I was coming and going, I was chairman. In the board meeting, whenever this issue came up, that why can't we do this? We build a nice thing. Half the board opposed, saying that we can't afford. I said, look, cancer needs LINAC. There's no question. So we kind of bulldozed and bought the LINAC. But the amazing thing was, the first day we started LINAC, 70% of the patient moved there in spite of the cost being 3-4 times more expensive, from 10,000 rupees to 40,000 rupees for the whole course. So it was a clear message to me and to the doctors. Really, people prefer the right treatment. People want the right treatment. Yes, cost is a factor, but the society needs the right treatment. With that in mind, I started working on how can I put together a plan between 1990 to 2003. I was still abroad, but started working on, can we create a center of excellence, hub and spoke model? Can we use technology to bridge the gap? With all this, in 2003, next one you can go to, with 2003, I started moved to India, convinced my family. And based on my experience in MD Anderson, the MD Anderson being a dedicated cancer center, for me, it was a game changer, understanding how cancer infrastructure is needed. How is it in a dedicated hospital, you can do the right thing for the cancer patient? And I'll go through some of the main points, which I will later on describe in the slides. But one of the important thing is, we have to be a focused factory approach. We cannot be, in my view, these are all personal views, of course. You cannot be, it is like a multi-cuisine restaurant. You go to a restaurant, you eat masala dosa and you eat, Gujarati food khichdi, and you have North Indian food, everything, paneers and all that. But can that be very good? It can be, okay, average, but it cannot be good. Whereas if you go to a paneer maker, you only make a masala dosa factory, they are good. You go to a pizza maker. That is the approach I took. If you want to really do, you have to be a specialist in it. You cannot be everything and say, I will go do a good job in all this. So I took a view, in spite of a lot of opposition from investors saying, will you succeed? Multi-speciality can succeed, but not an onco. I said the infrastructure needed, yes, you will require large infrastructure, you will require daycare therapy centers, you will require bunkers. Who is going to build a bunker? How do you build bunker? Because as you know, historically, bunkers are always in the basement and people feel you have to go to basement. Cancer center, in fact, where I was practicing in near Chicago, was in the basement. Why is it has to be in the basement? Do the cancer patient deserve basement? So we proved it long. Our first center in Bangalore, LINAC, was on the ground floor. We built a LINAC on the ground floor. We did that now in several centers wherever is technically possible, MS Ramaya, Vijayawada, everywhere we did on the ground floor. We proved that it can be done that way. The bunker need not be in the real bunker in the basement. So that was one of the points. The second is, why do we have to put these patients on a bed? Do we need so many beds? So we said, let us do daycare. Of course, home care chemo can also be done. But I felt there's a little bit of a danger if they have a reaction. So why don't we have One of the theories I floated is pump system. Can they go home? And then can patients be encouraged to teach their families to drive, come and take treatment, drive back? So that is the model we have created, where there is an outpatient clinic, daycare therapies, where patients come, take treatment, actually do their work. We give them a workplace. They can do their work on laptop and take a car, drive their car home. Is it possible to do? It is certainly possible. And more, one of the things I also learned, which I, as times progressed, more and more, we want to treat cancer patients like any other individuals. They come as an outpatient, like you go to a dentist, you go to hair salon, you go to outpatient cancer clinic, take your treatment and go to work. This is the model. I always used to tell my patients, come on a Friday, back to work on a Monday. Why not? Saturday, Sunday, you rest and go. No need to abstain from work, nothing. Lead a normal life. So with this in mind, we move on to the next level. We showed that next slide. And then we started with BIO, went on to, as I said, how can we improve the technology? As the technology improved, we have to keep up with the world of technology. We have to build necessary infrastructure. We have to have we have a cyclotron for PET scan. We were the first private healthcare to put a cyclotron, because I felt the cyclotron is needed to do right things in the PET scan. If you do a PET scan, molecular imaging, it was very clear to me when I saw the first PET scan in 1990s in US, 2000, close to 2000, that this is the model for future diagnosis. It has to be molecular imaging. Why? Because the CT scan shows only the anatomy. The PET scan actually shows where the active disease is based on the SUV. This is where we have to go. So we spent a lot of time, energy. In fact, BARC, Dr. Nandakumar mentioned, BARC was very reluctant to give us approval for cyclotron in Bangalore, in the heart of the city. We had to put a lot of effort, bring experts from abroad to convince them the bunker is good enough to create this mini nuclear power plant, but it can be okay. It is safe. So that is how we convinced and put it in the heart of the city. And we are very happy indeed that it is working well for the last almost 17 years. And the PET scan, of course, we have moved on from PET to digital PET to show how technology advances and we have to advance. And one of the factors, in a hospital administration, as you all know, which comes is that, very clearly that, okay, you want to do all this, but where is the money? So we have to create models to make it capacity utilization. And one of the things when you procure equipment, I want to share this with my colleagues here, that it is not that critical to pay everything upfront. And it is also not critical to start paying the banks everything upfront. We came up with a concept of deferred payment. So for example, if you bring a linear accelerator, let us say at $2 million, and you have a deferred scheme where for 3 years you do not have to pay anything. It is built in, CMC is built in. So you expect that center in 3 years to generate enough income so it can self-sustain itself for that technology. If your plans are right, you will succeed. That is how, partially we were able to build about 14 centers in a matter of 10 years, 8 years actually, from 2007 to 2014. We built about 14 centers, 14 Linux, CyberKnife, everything, PET scan, because obviously we didn't have that kind of funding, even though we had private equity funding, but we knew we can't do with only that, so we had to borrow, but we created a 3-year deferred plan. That I think was one of the turning points for us. And people always wonder, one of the points is, why did you not continue with non-profit hospital? I knew very well, my DNA was never to go begging for any grants. When I did the Mysore Bharat Hospital, it was one of a kind. I fought for the land. It is another story, which is in the book. But for fighting the system, not bribing anyone, I ran the hospital for 1 year without electricity on a generator because I refused to bribe the electricity board at that time. So I think it was very critical that value system should not be compromised. People think it's easy to bribe somebody, get license. I feel it is the path which is more important. So I'm very proud to say today, entire system we have our HCG right in front of the city corporation without 1 rupee bribe to the city corporation. Of course, they have come many times and gone, but no. So what I want to say is I felt a non-profit hospital is a challenge because you have to go and ask for grants, government land and all. So entire HCG system is built without not 1 inch of land from the government, even the non-profit hospital. So I said I cannot do more of this if I want to really make an impact across India, because I traveled across India and seen people waiting for 10, 12 hours to get cobalt treatment. I said I should use the hub and spoke model. Why hub and spoke model? The main center of excellence could have all the infrastructure, all the technology, virtual tumor boards can come there, all the 80, 90 oncologists there. So we can provide all the services from the main center to all these peripheral center. That is how we came up with the idea of establishing not just cancer centers, but comprehensive cancer centers in rural areas, like for example, Nasik, tier 2, Angol, tier 3 city, Shumaga, tier 3 city, and in Hubli, Gulbarga. So all of these 24 centers we have across the country, Gujarat, everywhere, where the idea was everybody needs accessibility. We need to have cancer centers comprehensive, not half-hearted, full comprehensive centers, full technology, PET scan, everything. At the same time, control from center so that the cost saving can happen, counseling can be done, and also shared services can happen. It was very important, shared services can happen. And one of the models we created, as you will see here also, was not to put in too many beds. Initially we had beds like a Bangalore, our hospital, main hospital has 300 beds. But as technology advanced, as knowledge about cancer went, as in any other field, more and more became ALOS, average length of stay became less and less, and more outpatient, more therapy, outpatient, day therapy, home care. With that, what happened was transformation took place to an extent where we did not need that many beds. So the future hospitals we started building, whether it's in Baroda or Nagpur and all that, were 30 beds, 40 beds, 50, with all facilities, ICU, intensive care, everything, but more facility for outpatient, more lobbies, more patient counseling rooms, more where patients can spend time on their own. Can we have a meditation room? Can we do certain things which the patients and the family want? And the most important thing I felt, what does a patient require when they come? They require their own privacy. How do you create privacy? How do you give them room to reflect on what is the doctor telling about surgery? Can we use technology so the doctor can communicate with them, video conferencing within the hospital? So all of these things became important, and more we encourage patient to out. When I started the center in Bangalore, the concept of doctors was patient will like to come and lie down on a bed to take chemotherapy. When I started opposing it, major medical oncologists said the patient will run away. In fact, today, the state of the art is they want to sit on an easy chair, lazy boy, listen to music and take treatment. Nobody prefers a bed, very few. So the transformation has happened. This is the future. Now, when we go to the next slide, and I will just run through, this is a worldwide. In the next 10 minutes, we also look at who are the stakeholders. The most important thing is the stakeholders as patient-centric, physicians, employees, insurance companies, pharma, but we also have financial investors. But I always felt, what is your EBITDA, what is your margin, what is your profitability, how many scans you did you do right number of scans is one part, should be the back end part. Really the front end is, are we patient friendly? Is our lobby patient friendly? Is our staff with a smile receiving it? Are we make them welcome? Are we treating them as family? See, one of the important points I'll get across to the staff and the doctors is, are we treating them as though she's my own mother, sister, brother, or father? Are we doing that? See, these are the important elements, fundamental elements I feel in patients. How do we receive the patient? If it is all about billing, if it is all about how much we made at the end of the day, while it is important, I don't think it will be a successful model. Maybe for a while, but in the long run, unless it is patient-centric, unless we look at the outcome of the patient, measure and publish and look at it, I don't think long-term it will be a credible institution. Next one. Next one. So again, I always, as I said before, I think the specialty hospitals are very important because, you can have a clinic on the floors. Suppose a pediatric clinic, a kid comes, playground there, what we have, sees the doctor in the clinic there, and if it's admitted, it is next door, there only they get admitted. This is how we have to look at the future, and it is there here already now. If bone marrow transplant, next door, the doctor can rush if there is an emergency. So all of this is what is required in proper planning. Not only we have to plan proper bunkers, we have to plan proper lab, access to lab. Can the doctors go and sit in the lab, do research, understand, look under the microscope? Can they then come and meet the patient families? Where are they going to meet the patient families? Where is the doctor? What is the distance? All of this has to, and can we create a separate vertical? Can there be a medical oncology vertical, surgical vertical, radiation vertical? So patients coming to different parts can go to different places. Is that a good idea? These are all the discussions taking place as we speak. So modern era as technology has put us on a different path altogether. Next one, Girish, please. I think, I always talk about Singapore airport. A lot of you go to Singapore, been there. What welcomes you to Singapore is airport. It's the airport tells you what is the nation. Phenomenal nation because the airport is so phenomenal. So like that, the entrance to the hospital, the lobby, how you're treated, not only the ambience, but treatment, how you look at it, is what your hospital is about. So it is very important. Can we all provide greenery? Can this be green? Can there be plants? Can there be people, staff? Can there be how you are received with a smile? How you are even discharged with a smile? And what are you told? Sometimes what annoys me is when the patient is told you can't go until the billing is done because we don't know. Are all these the right words to say? Or should we trust them and say, okay, I will take care of it? Because these are all nitty-gritties where, I even don't have answers. But these are all things which works in the patient mind, our mind. So we have to someday find right answers to those while we also try to survive. Next one. Girish. So, virtual and the future is what future? As I said, I had my own experience with my son who has muscular dystrophy. He was in ICU. And what happened to him, how we brought him home and we published in British Medical Journal, how one can manage intensive care at home. So I think future is most of the care will be empty parking lots, home therapy, virtual hospitals. And my dream for future, honestly, my fellow doctors, is that we should not have any very minimal inpatients, maybe surgery, they got this targeted surgery, they go. And we should be able to, through technology, cameras, manage these patients at home. Look at what happens to their infection rate. Look at the patient service. Look at the comfort to the patients. And if something goes wrong, they're at the home only, not anywhere else. And the outcome possibly will be better. Can we do rounds, virtual rounds like we are doing for COVID patients? Like, I did on my son where, through cloud physicians, we were able to manage even when we went into septic shock. In fact, at one point when his blood pressure was 60/0, and we thought, and he had a renal failure, the cloud physician said, we have to move him to the hospital now. I said no. And because I knew he cannot tolerate infection. So we pulled him out of that. Maybe I took a risk. And this is the presentation we did at the British Medical Journal. Clearly, there is a great opportunity for us without any financial compromise to do things away from the hospital. This is virtual. Imagine like a Star Trek. You have a main area where all the doctors are sitting, making rounds on patients. Virtually, we are seeing patients. We beam into the patient and say, how are you doing? Without physically being there, and do the whatever things can be done. And the nurse is there. and we give these particular orders, and we come back to our main center virtually and start looking at next patient round. I think we can see patients in Rajaji Nagar, Yashwantpur, or Jai Nagar everywhere by making virtual note without going there. And this is honestly, I feel, is where the future is headed. As technology advances, we are going to use technology and correct it and bring it up to leverage for the patient's use. And then I think patients will have less infection. Look at the COVID period. We are seeing less infection. Our mortality rate is down by 50% because, people are taking precautions, hand washing, masks, distancing. All of that has helped even our non-COVID patients a lot, our oncology patients, I mean. So this is where we are headed in future. Girish, we have any more few slides? I think we have. I will, Girish. So I think I also believe, as colleagues, entrepreneurs, doctors, we should not worry about failure. We should sometimes welcome failure as long as we're willing to learn. That has been my journey. There are a lot of failures, a lot of incidents where I feel I made wrong decisions, but I think we learn from it. And the most important part is learning, and you can be both places on the left and right by doing this. I think Girish, if there is any more, I can cut short quickly in the interest of time. Can you show me any more slides we have? I think hope, knowledge, we all know about HCG. I don't want to talk much about HCG. Next one, please. And this is the journey which I have undertaken from 1975 to today, how we have created, in spite of a lot of skepticism. One word on the quality and outcome, it's very important to know that what you're doing is right. That is why, Harvard Business School came and did study 5 years in a row, case study. Review showed that we can get the same outcome in breast cancer we got equal to best of centers in US at 1/8 the cost, $2,900 in India at that time to $22,000 in US at that time in 2013-14. So it is clear, and then the IFC did a study through the Amsterdam independent group showing that experience quality of care in India in HCG was higher than the global competitors, including National Health Services of England. So we can achieve. We cannot say, really, we are a poor country, we can't do. I think that is not true. I think every patient, why not we treat a cyber knife for a kid at 12 o'clock in the night, free of charge, if that is what the kid requires? Why should we refuse? Similarly, if somebody needs treatment, why not we do crowdfunding and make sure they get the right treatment, foundation. So there are various ways to skin the cat, as they say. I think there is no dearth of opportunities. There are people who are willing to pay. Cross subsidy is the key for HCG success. People are willing to pay, have to pay. When an NRI comes and says, I cannot pay, it is wrong. And when somebody who is a poor farmer comes and says, I want to sell my farm, please do, I think that is wrong also. So the right thing is the affording person should pay. Non-affording, we have to bridge the gap. And fortunately or unfortunately, universal healthcare has not come. And all these schemes are not helping us. But we need universal healthcare. I know Nanda Kumar, we are all worked on that to see how to bring. But there are some stumbling blocks. But I propose the universal healthcare where everybody contributes based on their capacity is the answer. Today, we spend only $83 per person in India. United States spends $9,400 per person. Entire Europe spends average of $5,000. We are saying we are spending $83, including private, public, everything, and say we want the same care as $9,400. I leave it to your imagination. But we all as doctors should pat ourselves on the back, because we are the cheapest healthcare provider in the world. Nobody to beat us. Our quality and data is improving. As we improve and show our data, like what to the Harvard Business School, others, we can become pioneers and leaders in this so-called value-based medicine. My friends, that is what we can achieve. We have an enormous opportunity to do that. And I hope this is some food for thought to see how we can achieve this goal. Great infrastructure, great technology, great doctors. Indian doctors are everywhere, as you know. You go to New York, you are Indian doctors. You go to Harvard, you are Indian doctors. You go to Boston, one of the finance minister of Tanzania told me, he went all over there, Harvey Street, and finally he came to us saying, I'll come to the land of Indian doctors and take treatment. So we are brilliant, we are bright, we are very capable. And now we have capacity to build the infrastructure and make it happen, provided systems like government doesn't come in the way. That is a talk for some other day. So with this, I will conclude my talk, and thanks for listening to me.
Ajay, thank you very much for such wonderful, inspirational talk. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions. Will you be back after how many minutes?
No, I think my call will be long time. I can answer a few questions now if there are, in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Okay. Prashanth, I think we'll take questions for Ajay Kumar first and then Nanda Kumar Jairam later, because he has to.
Sorry about this. I couldn't change that call at 6:15.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dinakar sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Prashanth.
Yeah, Kodreshi sir, you
Hello,
had
I
some.
want to ask my clarification to Dr. Ajay, please.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, you just now said if Government of India feasible to support or give modalities or things, how the Indian doctors can set up a wonderful institution for hospital for all the cares. What are the leniency to be given from the government itself?
See,
Because,
doctor, government has never come forward. Even in the COVID period, I'm sorry, we are all in various associations. Even in the COVID period, they have helped miners. They have helped coal miners. They've helped a lot of other industries. But what is the stimulus they have given to private healthcare? Please tell me. Zero. When I raise this question, they tell me, please don't ask us money. When nursing homes, hospitals are suffering, they are not even able to pay salaries, doctor. What is, they have not given 1 rupee. Even the money they owe us through schemes, they are saying they may not delay, they may delay, even though they have given some. So I think the attitude of the government is very socialistic when it comes to private healthcare. They think either the government should do, or we are walking out with bags of money, boatloads of money. So they are not understanding our difficulties and what great service we have done to the society. You go to tier 2, tier 3 cities where you all traveled, I've traveled. Nursing homes are the ones, doctors, families are really the social service provider. People don't even pay them. They say, give me some vegetables, it's okay. Historically, that is how we have done. We have been friends of the people. But, unfortunately, the system is not recognized. I don't know who to blame. Maybe we have to take some blame ourselves, some to the way the media is portrayed. Whenever you see media, it's like we are squeezing. What are we squeezing? So these are some of the issues which has to be addressed. For that, we need unity. If we don't have national unity, I don't think we can win the war.
but I would like to say the system should be corrected rather than anything.
Absolutely, system should be corrected, but we have to do it through, because in US and all, look, there's a lobby. They control the member of parliament. They control the members, ministers. They say lobby. We don't have a strong lobby system because we are all divided. We are too independent. We are too entrepreneurial. That is the issue.
Nice, thank you. Very good words you said.
I think you hit the nail on the coffin, Ajay. We are too independent and too divided to be unified. I think whatever the issue is, we are never united. Unlike lawyers in India, nobody can touch the lawyers for whatever reason. If the same thing were to happen, doctors, we are not united.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
We don't have a union, union type. We don't have. That is the issue.
Unions are there, but they are not individual opinions. Or individually, they don't take any decisions collectively.
Correct. Correct.
Sir, I have some few questions. Number one, sir, when you came to India, you know that cancer treatment will be little more expensive. As you told in your class, you have charged almost the double than what is available that present time. But what made you to invest like PET scan, so much equipments? What made you, or what is the gut feeling in you? Because you are telling, I went to US, I was there in US. Once again, I saw some scanning machine there, PET scanning and molecular study, but I thought I should have it in my hospital in India. I know that it will be double, triple, 4 times expensive. How you arranged? Even if you would have arranged it through the bank, what made you can replace that? What is that gut feeling you had? Because you are a successful both entrepreneur, and you are a good owner, and you are running with whatever the hub spoke model or multiple brands you have. Success, many people, but at that beginning, what made you?
No, I think, as I said before, having trained as an oncologist, my one mantra was do right thing for the patient. You have to. And if you want to do right thing, you have to have PET scan, you have to have linear accelerators. You know, it doesn't matter where the person is from, you have to have right technology, right doctors. So then the cost factor comes. I said, I have to create innovative model. That was what the Harvard study was, this hub and spoke, the model of deferred payment. For Siemens, for example, I went to the board of Siemens in Germany, said, I want to do this technology to all levels. So they said, what do you want? I need from you, without any bank, without any guarantee, I want $10 million. They gave me $8 million payment with with very low interest over a period of time. So no bank was involved. With that, I started, I had to do a lot of talking, of course, convincing. And whenever people said private equity, and I want 20%, 25% return, I said, no, that is not possible. I don't know. I used to walk out. See, you also have to be honest with anybody. And, even with the banks, I used to say, look, you give me LC, but I cannot pay for this LC. It has to be done another way. So in a very transparent way, in fact, when Azim Premji came to invest with me in 2007, I didn't know, he asked me, I didn't need money. I had already my first tranche, but I couldn't refuse. He said, why do you want to do? He said, because of your transparency in ethics, I want to. But remember, I want to be in healthcare, but I want my returns, he said. I want my returns. So and I gave him his return. He got his 2.5 times his investment and left. So all I want to say is you have to be, at the end of the day, truthful to yourself, as we all know. And we also have to make sure when others invest money or bank, their money is more valuable than yours. Obviously it is. And that is how you have to protect their wealth and make sure. I have given 5 exits to PEs. And now we have a new funding of 650 crores. Now I have to look at public market. That is my problem. But in the long run, in answer to your question, either you do the right way or don't compromise. I think that is it. And you create a model so that it becomes viable. Okay.
Sir, very nice. What you told, the last word, don't compromise. Because no, that was my thing. Very nice, sir. It was really inspirational talk. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
That's up to you, sir.
So, Kishore, can I take leave now? You are on mute.
Prashanth?
Yes,
You are on mute.
Yeah, Prashanth.
yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Ajay, for taking time, and
Anytime.
sure you will be an inspiration for many juniors now who have been listening to you. You have been an inspiration for many people so far.
You too, Kishore. You are all done great things. All of you have done. I know Kishore, Nanda Kumar, everyone have done a lot of contribution. And I think I want to start a school for entrepreneurship. I'm working with one group. I will come to you, Nanda Kumar, and all the doctors, how we can really mentor and create the future entrepreneurs. As we said, doctors, we have to get united. I think we have to get united. Okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we have to do entrepreneurship and leadership for all the healthcare professionals.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sir, thank you, sir. On behalf of NNF Karnataka, Kotreshi, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. President, sir.
Very nice, sir. I would like to say a word about this program. In web series, we have done a lot of scientific programs, but this is the first time I am proud to say I am the president of this Karnataka NNF. The entrepreneurs and social service and investors have become a one platform for NNF. So they can give the ideas, including how to come up with things, how to keep the records, how to come up with the things. So all the moderators also have done a wonderful job on this one. With all the activities, NNF is proud to say involve all these activities.
Sir, can I ask some questions to Sir Nanda Kumar, sir?
Yes, go ahead. Please go ahead. Dr. Nanda Kumar Jairam.
Yeah, sure, please.
Sir, you told OC is very much to start everything. I heard that some things and all they have cancelled. Now because of the COVID season to start an hospital, I heard that some revisation they have done. Can you just throw a light on that, sir? This is my first question. I have 4 or 5 questions, sir. Please, if you don't mind, about this.
No, the only license that they have done away with is the trade license, but other
Yes.
things are still required, and we have to abide by that. And OC definitely is required before you start your operations.
Okay. So number 1. Number 2, suppose, sir, everybody is having their own hiccups in the buildings. I know that, sir, you are very strict, but just let us say in a broad way. I'm not, please don't think like in military, sir. Think it in a broad way. Everybody will have some deviations either in the building plan or in the floor plan, or the floor plans, and whatever it is. So even after adjustment, according to the requirement, they will sign it. They will sign in the OC paper or plan paper. Suppose if anybody has constructed some ICUs on that other floor or anything, it is not. So 5th floor maximum 3 floors are allowed, 4 floors are allowed. Don't think only corporate or in the city or metros. In other floors, if they would have started their own, do you think later they will face any problem once hospital is established?
So this is a question that can be answered in 2 ways. One, if there is no catastrophe, if there is no accident in the hospital, you may get away with it. But can any one of us predict that that is the case? No. So the other thing is to allow that to be rectified, in the sense you can ask them to accept certain modifications in the building over a period of time, pay for the additional floor and get it corrected. And that is much better. I will tell you this.
Sir.
It is not that every single inch of Columbia Asia is done as per what norms the government asks. But if there is a deviation, the deviation is such that it can be condoned. So you should not deviate in a manner that cannot be condoned. That is definitely risky. So I would say that, additional floors without license, these are risky. We should not get into it. And at the time of planning itself, you should know what the BBMP will condone and what it will not.
Yes, sir. Sir, and one more thing. You are telling, because we heard that there is agencies, if we will pay them money, provided if we will give the floor plan and all those things, and all the around 13 or 40, whatever you are telling, sir, there are so many permissions. Do you think that agencies work with, if we will pay the money, they will get all the things and come to us and give us? Is it true?
No, sir. There is no single agency that will get you all the licenses. And I don't think
maximum.
So if for one particular agency, authority, there will be a specific agency that will do it. For example, for pollution board, all the licenses of the pollution board, there will be somebody who is willing to do it. All the licenses of the corporation, there will be another person. And I am not saying that you should go to them for all license. For example, trade license is simple and straightforward. Anybody can apply for it and get it without any hassles. So it is only those where you face a roadblock, where you feel that the officers are such that they are not going to be conducive to you, that you should approach such agencies. And that is the way we have functioned.
Okay. So if it is so, some floors are like a canteen and they have done something, but fire fellow has given all the permissions for all the floors. So it is a discrepancy between each departments what they will give permission. So what should we do, sir?
No. Actually, if you ask for license to run a cafe, they are not going to look at the size of the cafe and all this. It is just that you are licensed to serve food and refreshments within the premises of the hospital. That is all. So the requirements are only occupation certificate and fire license for building specification.
Sir, is what you mean cafe is a canteen or just a coffee and a canteen, what is it? Just as a refresher, is uh, like a simple coffee and bakery items, is that also need permission, or canteen itself is a different cafeteria? What do you mean, sir, permission means?
So I'll give you the example of in our hospital, we have got and we have to get a license. And if you look at, we have on the ground floor a small outlet which sells coffee and some snacks. That we have to have a separate license. The only way you can get away if you want one license is to show that as an extension of the canteen, which they will sometimes permit, sometimes not.
Oh, very nice, sir. And one more thing regarding the biomedical waste or sewage waste permission, we know that labor room, OT, and the lab, that whatever the sewage water is coming, so we should treat and we should leave it. So do you think all the hospital we can leave directly?
No, sir, no. All outflow from the hospital should go to STP and then be discharged.
Is there STP is recommended for 50 and less bed hospital, or more than anything else like that rules is there, sir?
No, sir, no. You have to have STP based on the water consumption, anticipated water consumption.
Based on the anticipated water consumption. Because I have gone through many hospitals, none of the people are having STP in their premises. Just they are treating the water of the lab and the labor room and the OT, whatever they get. So other than that, none of the people are having STP in their 60, 40 or 100 sites. They don't have. How they're running?
No. So as I said, if it is perhaps that the quantum of water discharged from them is lower than what is required for an STP, you can just treat it and send it then.
Okay, sir.
Sir, any other questions from your side, sir?
No, thank you, Prashanth.
Yeah, sir, one question I've received now. So before we start an hospital, to apply for all these licenses, what should be the ideal time kept, or can we do it simultaneously with the building or with the interiors? What is your advice, sir?
So phase 1, as I said, should start before the commencement of construction. All others will run parallel.
Okay. So if any of our delegates, attendees have a question, they can unmute themselves and they can ask one by one. Meanwhile, we have other panelists as well who has joined, Dr. Suresh, Dr. Satish Ganta, Dr. Sarat Chandra, and Dr. Adarsh. So, and with NKJ sir, if any of you have any question, you can directly unmute and you can ask.
Hello, yeah, I'm Dr. Nitin Agarwal from Baroda.
Yeah.
My question to Dr. NKJ sir.
Now
the healthcare industry is included in MSME. Is there any advantage in getting softer loans from the MSME ministry for establishing a hospital?
Not really. The MSME advantage is not very useful as far as hospitals are concerned. We have checked on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any of the delegates, attendees, if they have any question, they can unmute one by one and they can ask. Meanwhile, I request Dr. Suresh to put his views on today's topic. Dr. Suresh?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Prashanth. It's interesting that we're talking about the statutory requirements, and I agree 100% that whatever statutory requirements are there have to be complied with. Otherwise, tomorrow you never know what is going to happen. No one knew COVID is going to happen. But I have one of the concerns here is in India, a lot of hospitals have been started in the last 20, 30 years, hospitals like mine, which are more than 30 years old, and which at that time, the rules were not so strict, or even in Tamil Nadu, for example, till last year, they did not insist on building occupancy certificate. Now, what's happening is now with NABH and all the newer norms, older hospitals are facing a very tough time complying with the requirements. We have, for example, we have fire NOC. Yes, we put fire exit. All that has been done. But if you look at the strict thing as per NABH, for example, lift license. Lift license is not possible without BOC, and BOC, because there are some deviations in the past like this, there are issues like that. So if anyone could comment on that.
Suresh, if I can take the liberty of answering, you're absolutely right. In the past, people could have converted one house into a nursing home and started anything, and there were no norms. Basically, we call it as a mom and dad's nursing home. Now, standards are being regularized. I think we have the right person to ask such questions, because Dr. NKJ has been the chairman of NABH accreditation, and the reason for accreditation and standards is to improve the healthcare standards in the country. Probably, NKJ, you want to add?
Yeah. So, no, you're right. There are issues when you have an older hospital, no doubt about it. But what I would say is that even NABH is cognizant of this and has tried to help out. For example, with regard to fire license, if you cannot get a fire license, the fact that do the fire acknowledgement will serve the purpose. Also, private fire help out in this way. I would request all the others to please mute, because otherwise whatever is spoken cannot be heard. So what I'm saying is that there are certain areas where you can look at other alternatives for NABH.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to bring this up because this is a common concern. And quite often you also see a lot of new hospitals coming up where they take lease a commercial complex and convert it into a hospital. And they face these issues. So people should be aware, even before like leasing a building that has not been built for a hospital, to see if they can meet the statutory and other licensing requirements.
Sure.
Sir, one more question. Suppose if we are taking care of the entire hospital setup as a owner or a founder, how to balance our clinical skills as a doctor, managing director of the institution, with getting into all this license? What is your advice for people? How to go about? Should we cut off everything and stick to one administrative skill, or should we balance both?
No, I think it is possible to balance both. There is no question. As I have said, I have been a practicing surgeon for a good part of my career, and I combined the two. The only point that you must remember is not to compromise either. When you are an administrator and a clinical person, there are three things that come in force. One, time. You have to devote time to both. Number two, standards. It is possible for you to apply quality to both without any compromise. And the third is to understand about costs and how, because as a clinician, you will be always softer towards the patient. As an administrator, you tend to be much more financially oriented. So these 3 points need to be addressed, but I think a very, very unbiased view has to be taken, and you need not compromise either.
Sir, one more question, sir. So if you are planning for an 100 to 150 bedded hospital, what should be the budget should be allocated for license thing? What should be the percentage of budget we need to allocate?
Oh, I don't have a figure offhand, because we have spent monies at various points in time. But it is not much. That much I will tell you. Even if you have to pay the consultants, it is not much. Honestly, I don't have a figure, but I can probably look at it and come back to you with a suitable number to it.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So I request any of our delegates, if they have any doubts, they can unmute one by one. And if one person is speaking, we request all the delegates to be mute. Keep yourself muted. Anyone has a question? Dr. Naresh Prasad?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, my request was the MD medicine people are getting a license to run a ultrasound machine, and the MD pediatricians, why we are not allowed to run a ultrasound machine, and that is more needed by us. And if it is allowed, it will definitely be it can bring a good change in our medical practice or pediatric practice, even in neonatology also, sir. By listening to the various speakers about the echocardiography, ultrasonography, we are learning something. But once we don't have at bedside the ultrasound machine, we are not able to diagnose it very quickly and tell the prognosis of the patient to the attendants. That was the issue.
Shall I take that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. So I want to say that this is also dependent on the interpretation of the PCPNDT Act by various states. For example, in our hospital in Patiala, the echo machine cannot be moved, which is such a terrible thing. There is a location that has been fixed for the echo machine and it has to be there only. So how can you function? All of us understand that an echo machine will have to be a bedside investigation when a patient is very sick. So this is unfortunate, but I think there are certain things which are being worked out, and it is a little premature for me to say this, but I know the government is looking at it and things may change in the near future.
Can I ask Dr. Sharat? Can I ask Dr. Sharat Chandra?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sharat Chandra is there? Or Satish Gupta, sir?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Satish is there, sir. Go ahead, sir.
He can hear?
Yes, I can hear.
Satish Ganta, please, can you just tell us about, we heard from sir in detail, even from Suresh was discussing very nicely. So just, I want, because you are a partner of the hospital, I know that we know all the permissions are needed. Can you just tell, because some people, what I heard, little difference is there from what sir has told. So what anybody can, because many people are there, at least 25 people are interested to open a hospital. What sir has told is a main thing. It is the means it is a blood or a thing for the body. Can you explain to us?
See, I mean, the most important thing is, let us say, permissions. Let us take the example of a fire. Okay, so you need fire NOC, and let us be very, very clear. In India, anybody can be bought, X number of, bribes can be given, and you can get, a fire NOC about 4 or 5 years back. Yes, now I understand that it's a lot more strict. But as sir said, I agree that we have to go by the book, because he used one phrase when he said, can you guarantee that nothing is going to happen down the line? See, I'll tell you a recent example which happened in Vijayawada. Okay, it's a big hospital and he's been practicing for close to 35, 40 years. And he has taken that out for lease, and there's a fire that happened there. And unfortunately, it was with the COVID patients. And all the media's attention is there. You know what the government has done? Despite 35 to 40 years of experience, they have issued him an arrest warrant. Nobody will save us, sir. When things go wrong, when things unfortunately, when there is a fire accident or any of these things, absolutely nobody will spare us. Whatever amount, how much ever amount of deep connections you have or whatever, at that time the public impulse is against the hospital and there is a fire. So nobody can save us. So I think keeping all that in the best possible view, it is important that we stick to the regulations and get a fire NOC if it is 15 meters above or whatever. So that is one thing. Second, let me take an example of your STP plant. STP plant, if they want to trouble you, they can trouble you XYZ. There is no doubt about that. For us in Hyderabad, what is the policy right now? Even if you have a 20-bedded hospital, you have to have an STP. Even if you tell them that the space is not much, they have made provisions, in different ways. So they are, you are forced to have an STP. So every single department's waste has to be sort of treated and then sent. So, every single thing, whether it is fire or STP or, sewage or biomedical waste. So I understand that it is difficult to get the things with the stipulated time, especially if you're taking a leased out building. But as one of the, one of the speakers have pointed out, even if you are wanting to take a leased out premises, before we take this leased out premises, it is better actually to have somebody, visit the place and find out whether we can get all the approvals or not. So temporarily you might have gotten over it and you would have sort of bribed somebody and, started off the facility. But if shit happens, if bad things happen, trust me, nobody will sort of help you. I've seen 2 instances in the last 6 months where the doctors have been sitting in jail. And, even though they're influential, you can't help it. So I think there is no excuse out here. I hope I've answered.
Yeah.
I think Satish has hit the nail on the coffin. That is one thing. If it goes something wrong, nobody will save you. Yes. The other thing is, if you don't follow regulations, you are subject to exploitation.
Exactly. Every month.
Here they'll come and say your rules have been violated. Bribe me this much, bribe me that much. So the more popular you become over the years, the more subject to exploitation. So it's better to be following the rules from day one, so that nobody can exploit you. That's a basic principle. So when you start, you think that you may not be famous that much, but once you become famous, you will have to pay the price if you follow the rules and regulations.
Sir, can I say?
I may have to leave in the next 5 minutes, so if that's okay with the...
Sir,
yes, sir.
Sir, can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead,
Sir,
Doctor.
Yes. In the most of the places, even the private clinics, in the doctor's house also, and the hospitals also, we are not caring about the electrical devices, electrical switchboards, and many things which are very essential. In one of the hospitals at our place, what happened? There was a leak from the generator, and the lady got the shock from the generator current, and she died. And there was nobody to care about to her, since the generator was lying at the back part of the hospital. And anywhere they tried the level bus, but they were not able to save. Even if the mobile chargers are there, it is connected to the plug and the other end is open. One of the child got the electric shock from the other end of the mobile charger plug, and anyway, the child was saved. And this is the common phenomenon which is taking place in various nursing homes and even the houses. And in the many times, we make a temporary solution to the electrical problems, and they are not putting a proper way how to save the electric leaks and electric equipments, electric switchboards, and they are not how to stop the fire from the electric currents. So that is also a big issue. It should be taken very seriously to prevent any harmful effect upon us. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we should thank Dr. Nandakumar Jairam for having taken time out and having come to explain to us. As you can see, he has a vast experience of being a surgeon, doctor, CEO, managing director, chairman, accreditation, quality. We all talk about it. He has achieved all that, and he has been a truly symbolic of what anybody can do with their persistence, perseverance, and patience if you put your mind to action. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate you having educated all our audience regarding nuisances which can happen and the rules we need to follow. And we really sincerely thank you. Dr. Kotresha, you want to say a few words, please?
I am really once again proud to say I'm the president of Karnataka NNF. In my venture, with all your support, the Secretary Prashanth, Vice President Dr. Kishore, and our very eminent President Dr. Dinakar, we are doing the very good activities on this subject, including EB members. Everybody is supporting. The thing is, series of things are happening like this. Ultimately, what is my message? You see, there should be improvement of NNF care in Karnataka. Say we could be able to bring the mortality to zero level. That is my view. And I once again thank for all our team of members who get done doing very good jobs on these presentations, and as well as impression, and as well as encouraging our young dynamic neurologists to come out crisis of situation in COVID area. Nice, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. If sir,
Prashant.
Yes, sir. If you have got any questions from your side, you can put it across with our panelists, or else we'll.
So, Dr. Suresh.
Yes.
Suresh, you are there. Very nice. No, Suresh, why I am asking is some people might be, because all these things are recorded, they will go and see, because there are so many people. They have messaged me, sir, today is my duties. Sir, I have opened, sir, my final year DM, and I am planning to open. Sir, my wife is gynecologist, because sir, I am opening in the periphery. Like that, many people have just calling and sent a message. That is the reason I'll take just 2 questions for you, 2 questions for Ganta, and any other people are there, Dr. Prashanth? Other than these 2 people, any other people are there?
Dr. Adarsh was there. He had told the beginning, sir, he's not.
Okay, there. Anyhow, Dr. Kishore is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Number 1. Dr. Suresh, tell me, I know that you have started, it is a long history of hospital. History is there. Do you think till now also you are facing any problems with the permissions on and off?
The more successful.
In which way you are facing the problems?
No, the more successful you are, the more trouble you have. First thing. But no, like you say, pollution control board, electricity, if you're, like you said, already they're established, then you're a target. But at the same time, because you're established, it is easy that you can call the right people and get things done moving faster. Practically, I'm saying. I mean, if the file is stalled, you can go all the way up to the corporation commissioner or collector and get things moving. So that benefit is there. But statutory requirement troubles continue however long you've been in practice.
Okay. So once all the permissions you will get legally, still do you think you will have some problem?
Yes, because like Dr. N.K. Jairam said, all these licenses have a definite finite validity. 3 years, 5 years, 2 years. So when you go back for renewal, it's the same process. They're always, I mean, either you engage a consultant to get the file moving, or you directly deal with them. So that's why none of these licenses, except for your building approval and probably 1 or 2 things, everything else has to be renewed periodically.
Okay, number 1. So because fire and all, do you think that is also renewal? Fire is renewal,
yes,
biomedical
is renewable. And the other side effect of having all these licenses is they all come to you for free treatment. But when you go to them for a favor, you're still on the dock.
Yeah, that is there. So, Dr. Satish Kanta, sir, are you here?
I'm here.
Sir, you tell me what is your experience about the permissions.
Yeah.
You told already. Is there any other thing you want to tell us?
Yeah, I mean, 1, 2 things. What you could do is I mean, actually, we are actually trying to have that HIMS software. What you could do, all these permissions, if you could have all the dates, the expiry dates of all these things plugged into the system, that will give you an alert when it has to be renewed. Because that is one thing we always forget, the dates. And as the other speakers are also were pointing out, the most important thing is, if everything is smooth, nobody will bother you. If something happens like an accident, everybody will just pounce. They'll just wait to pounce on you because the media is already there. So I think for me, the best thing is you can have a software which actually alerts you. That is actually called the BMS, Building Management System, where you have everything in the system where all of them you will get alerts when this is about to be fulfilled. 1 month prior to the expiry date, it has to be done. So that is one thing. Secondly, if you are starting, it is actually a good idea to engage the services of a NABH consultant. See, many of the NABH inspectors, people who they can apply to be an inspector. They could be a doctor or could be some other services. They've actually started so many NABH sort of consultations, right? Yeah. So these NABH consultants or NABH inspectors, if you employ them right in the beginning, they might not help you with the permissions, but at least they will tell you what are the things that needs to be going. This is the plan. What are the possible places where you can get a rejection? How, what are the things? I think that is a good way to go forward. Do you agree with me, sir? Yes. So that is the other thing, having this thing. Now, the third thing I really want to stress, especially with the COVID crisis now, all the exhaust guidelines are changed. Every exhaust guidelines are changed with the COVID. Now, first, if you remember, what did the WHO say? I said, please switch off the air conditioning system. And a catastrophe happened. In fact, many doctors died because they started switching off the air conditioning system. And in that hot, humid condition, it actually spread more. The COVID spread more. So then they said, no, you can't switch off the central air conditioning. You should have more exhaust or more suction into it. Then they said, no, it's not just the suction. You need to increase the filtration. You need to increase the number of air throws that happen and increase the number of HEPA filters. So more air throws to more filters and more suction. So those are all the things which are there in the new ISHRE guidelines. So these are the things, rather than being sorry later, it's better to implement now, especially people who are wanting to start now. And if you already started and if you're midway, one caution would be, if you go to the government right now and the DMHO, they'll ask you to give 50% beds for the COVID at the government cost. So just think about it as well. So these are my 4 advices to you guys.
I'd just like to add, based on what Satish said, the reminders, you don't need an expensive BMS or anything. Your even Google Gmail account has a calendar feature where you can put in reminders, because
yes. Yeah.
Remember, you are ultimately responsible. Your staff may have forgotten, but end of the day, you're responsible, and it's always easier to renew a license before it expires than after it expires.
Yes. So you can do it through your system, your Gmail, this thing as well. But first you need to fill them up in the system, and you have to adjust it in such a way that it will give you an alert 1 month prior to that. Yes, sir. Yeah, the reason why I'm saying is it could be something simple like your overhead tank. So overhead tank is due to be cleaned, So those are the kind of things which, if they alert you, then you can just, entrust it to somebody else to do it quickly. Yeah, over to Prashanth.
Yes, sir. Even if you are opening an hospital, or if you open an hospital, even if you forget your wife's birthday, don't forget the requirements. Because
birthday and wedding anniversary.
Very badly.
No. That itself is, I think that is more catastrophe. Wife is more catastrophe.
Prashanth, I'll put that also in my Google Calendar.
So nice. Whether you remember, don't remember, if you want to put a tattoo on top of the dates of renewal like Gajni in Amir Khan, do it. Make sure that it is done on time, because especially when it is related to health. I'm just trying to summarize what has been told by our speaker. When it is related to health and emergency, it's unpredictable, and any outbreak can happen, any disaster can happen, but you should be prepared for the disaster management. So that can only be done with preparedness and good following according to the books. Even if it is not possible to, but do not forget, once you are part of this hospital or management where it's going to affect you and your team, make sure that it is balanced. Prevention is always better than cure, and we as a doctors, we know that better than anyone else. So I would like to thank all my speakers, wonderful speakers, and the panelists who have been consistently giving their inputs. We have been getting extremely good feedback. There are many calls we have got who have designed their hospital with without thinking and planning. They are sending a message and saying that this particular webinar has redefined my thoughts, has made me think like an entrepreneur, made me think like a businessman, and I'm trying to redesign my hospital on the inputs which has been given. And they are extremely thankful to all the panelists, all the speakers, and NNF Karnataka, and our entire team headed by Kotreshi sir and our president, and Kishore sir, our vice president, and our joint secretaries, our treasurer, and members. Thank you, Dr. NKJ sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Whatever has explained and put it in beautiful slides, I think that is like a Bible for whoever, you want to go with the permissions. You can have it like about 5 or 6 or 8 slides. I think that is the, beautiful. He's summarized it, everything into a beautiful thing. So whoever would want to start, I think that is something fun. I think we are planning to record it and then have it on our website, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It will be put in the website, sir.
Yes.
YouTube channel as well as our Facebook page. So thank you, Dr. NKJ sir, Dr. Ajay sir, Kishore sir, Dr. Suresh sir, Dr. Satish Gowda sir, sir, all the panelists and all the participants. We'll continue this. This is just the 4th episode, and already we are getting their life-changing lessons has been taught, tips have been given. Thank you, sir. Kishore sir, would you like to give a last comment before we close?
Yeah. Thank you, especially the panelists, so Satish Gowda, Suresh, and Adarsh, and all of you. You made this national program with your participation and experience. Of course, the legends from Karnataka, Nandakumar Jairam and Ajay Kumar, with their huge experience and success stories. It was an eye-opener for many of us. Hopefully, a lot more people from all over India will learn from the lessons and become doctorpreneurs and do a success story for us to showcase in future. Thank you very much.
Kotreshi sir.
Thank you, Kishore Kumar sir. Thank you, sir, Kishore Kumar sir. It's all because of your blessings and your persistence too.
Thank you, Dinakar.
It goes to everyone with the teamwork for NNF Karnataka.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Goodbye to all.
Thank you.